Some motorcycles fade with time, others become legends. But only a rare few carve their names into history with such force that decades later, riders still talk about them in hushed awe. Japan didn't just build fast bikes, it built icons. From two-stroke street terrors to six-cylinder symphonies, we're counting down the 15 most legendary Japanese retro motorcycles of all time. Each one a masterpiece of design, engineering, and attitude. 15. 1978 Honda CX500. At first glance, the Honda CX500 looked like it missed the memo on what a Japanese motorcycle was supposed to be. Honda didn't go with a parallel twin or an inline-4. Instead, they went left field with a 497cc liquid-cooled 4-valve V-twin mounted transversely, like something straight off a Moto Guzzi production line. Add in shaft drive, electronic start, and a low-maintenance reputation, and the CX500 was basically a commuter wrapped in engineering bravado. But this wasn't just tech for tech's sake. That 80-degree V-twin put out nearly 50 horsepower at 9,000 RPM, with torque that came on smoothly and early, making it a practical daily ride and surprisingly capable over distance. The bike handled well, with Honda's Comstar wheels and a frame that stayed stable at speed. Even the brakes, dual front discs in later models, were respectable for the era. And yet, the styling. The early CX500s earned the nickname Plastic Maggot, thanks to the bulky fairing and liberal use of plastic in a chrome-obsessed world. It turned heads for all the wrong reasons in the late 70s. But give it a few decades and that weirdness became charm. Today, the CX500 is a cult favorite, especially among cafe racer builders, for its unique engine layout, unmistakable exhaust note, and endless mod potential. But if the CX500 was the rebel with brains, the next bike on the list was a no-nonsense street fighter that punched way above its weight. Now, before we continue, if you're a motorcycle fan and you've not yet subscribed to this channel, you're missing out a lot. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Let's get started. 14. 1969 Yamaha XS650. When Yamaha introduced the XS650 in 1969, they weren't just launching a motorcycle, they were issuing a challenge. This was Japan stepping into a ring dominated by British bruisers like the Triumph Bonneville and Norton Commando. But instead of copying them, Yamaha refined the concept. The XS650 featured a 653cc air-cooled SOHC parallel twin, and what set it apart was balance. It wasn't overly powerful, as it produced 53 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, but it was smooth, durable, and always ready for more. With a 180-degree crankshaft and roller bearings in the bottom end, the engine was overbuilt to the point of nearly being bulletproof. You could thrash it, tour on it, or just ride it to death, and it would keep going. Early models were kickstart only, but Yamaha later added electric start and disc brakes, turning the XS650 into a versatile all-rounder. And it had the classic look, teardrop tank, upright bars, and chrome pipes that angled just right. It was simply a good-looking bike. But while the XS650 evolved into an underground icon, the next machine was louder, lighter, and came out of the gate smoking, literally. 13. 1975 Suzuki T500 Titan. In a time when big two-strokes were known more for melting pistons than mile munching, Suzuki pulled off something rare, a 500cc two-stroke twin that could go the distance. The T500 Titan debuted in 1968, and at first, people didn't know what to make of it. Here was a two-stroke that wasn't frantic, didn't rattle your teeth out, and didn't demand a full rebuild every Sunday. Its 492cc piston port twin delivered around 47 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, with a surprisingly wide torque band. It had a 5-speed gearbox, excellent cooling thanks to a generous finning and oil injection that meant you didn't have to pre-mix your fuel, a massive bonus back then. The chassis was also ahead of its time, with a long wheelbase, twin leading shoe front brakes, and solid suspension. The Titan was more stable than most expected. It wasn't light, around 430 pounds wet, but it carried that weight gracefully. Styling was simple but sharp, with side panels that flared just enough and a tank that looked at home in the late 60s. And just when riders thought a two-stroke could finally be tamed, the next Japanese icon rolled in with inline 4 fury and a red line that left everyone in the dust. 12. 1965 Honda CB450 Black Bomber. In the mid-1960s, Honda took a bold leap into the big bike arena with the CB450, affectionately dubbed Black Bomber. This motorcycle was Honda's first foray into the larger displacement market, aiming to challenge the dominance of British twins. At its heart was a 444cc DOHC parallel twin engine, a technological marvel at the time, producing 43 horsepower at 8,500 RPM. The engine's design featured torsion bar valve springs, eliminating the need for traditional coil springs and allowing for higher revs and improved reliability. The CB450's performance was impressive, with a top speed of approximately 110 miles per hour and a quarter-mile time around 14.5 seconds. Its tubular semi-duplex cradle frame provided a sturdy foundation, complemented by telescopic front forks and twin-shock rear suspension, ensuring a balanced and responsive ride. Despite its innovations, the CB450 faced stiff competition from larger British bikes and didn't achieve the commercial success Honda hoped for. However, it laid the groundwork for future models like the CB750, cementing its place in motorcycle history. But if the CB450 was Honda's ambitious stride into the big leagues, the next machine on our list was a nimble powerhouse that brought racing technology to the streets. 11. 1973 Yamaha RD350. The Yamaha RD350 burst onto the scene in 1973, bringing with it a blend of lightweight agility and exhilarating performance that captivated riders worldwide. Powered by a 347cc air-cooled two-stroke parallel twin engine, the RD350 delivered 39 horsepower at 7,500 RPM, propelling the bike to a top speed of around 105 miles per hour. Its 6-speed transmission allowed riders to keep the engine in its sweet spot, ensuring rapid acceleration and responsive handling. One of the RD350's standout features was its reed valve induction system known as torque induction by Yamaha. This innovation improved fuel efficiency and broadened the power band, making the bike more manageable at lower RPMs without sacrificing high-end performance. The auto lube oil injection system eliminated the need for pre-mixing fuel and oil, adding convenience to its list of rider-friendly features. And with a wet weight of 342 pounds and a wheelbase of 1,320 millimeters, the RD350 was both lightweight and compact, enhancing its maneuverability. Yet, as impressive as the RD350 was, the next motorcycle on our list combines size and sophistication to create a touring experience like no other. 10. 1971 Suzuki GT750 Water Buffalo. In 1971, Suzuki introduced the GT750, a motorcycle that broke new ground as Japan's first mass-produced liquid-cooled bike. Nicknamed the Water Buffalo in the US and the Kettle in the UK, the GT750 featured a 739cc two-stroke, 3-cylinder engine producing 67 horsepower at 6,500 RPMs and 75.5 Nm of torque at 5,500 RPMs. This setup allowed the GT750 to reach a top speed of approximately 110 miles per hour, delivering smooth and consistent power across the rev range. The GT750's liquid cooling system was a significant advancement, incorporating a pressurized forced circulation system with a reinforced aluminum radiator and an electric fan. This innovation not only improved engine longevity, but also reduced noise and emissions, setting new standards for motorcycle engineering. Built for comfort and long-distance touring, the GT750 boasted a wheelbase of 1,470 millimeters and a wet weight of 235 kilograms, providing stability and a smooth ride. Its twin front disc brakes and rear drum brake offered reliable stopping power, while the 5-speed constant mesh transmission ensured seamless gear changes. The bike's design emphasized functional beauty with a flowing silhouette and high-visibility instrumentation, enhancing both aesthetics and rider experience. But the GT750 was not the only innovative 70s bike Suzuki had to offer. This next bike is even more impressive. 9. 1978 Suzuki GS1000. By the late 70s, Suzuki had already built a name for itself with smaller displacement machines. But the GS1000 marked a turning point, a confident entry into the leader bike club that didn't just compete, it dominated. At the heart of this beast was a 997cc air-cooled DOHC inline-4, pushing out 90 horsepower and 78 Nm of torque, numbers that gave it serious bite at the time. Top speed? A heady 135 miles per hour. But the GS1000 didn't rely on brute force alone. What really earned it respect was balance. Its 5-speed gearbox delivered power with silky smoothness, and the double cradle steel frame provided a rock-solid foundation for high-speed stability. Suzuki also got the ride right. Oil-damped telescopic front forks and dual rear shocks soaked up uneven pavement, while dual disc brakes up front offered confident stopping power, a crucial upgrade for a bike of this size. But while the GS1000 was the quiet overachiever, the next bike didn't just change the game, it created the rules. 8. 1969 Honda CB750. The Honda CB750 didn't just show up in 1969, it dropped like a bomb. Until then, the idea of a powerful, reliable, and affordable 4-cylinder bike was unheard of. But here came Honda, flipping the table with a 736cc SOHC inline-4 that cranked out 67 horsepower, hit 125 miles per hour, and ran like clockwork. The CB750 was the first mass-market motorcycle to feature a front disc brake, a serious leap in stopping power at a time when most bikes were still using drums. It had an electric starter, a 5-speed gearbox, and that unmistakable 4x4 exhaust that gave it both a signature look and sound. Underneath it all was a twin cradle steel frame that kept things rigid without sacrificing comfort. And then there was the price, just under $1,500 in 1969, which made it accessible to regular riders, not just enthusiasts or racers. The CB750 kicked off the superbike era, forced every other Japanese brand to respond, and arguably changed the DNA of the motorcycle industry. Of course, Honda may have fired the first shot, but Kawasaki answered back with something louder, faster, and downright meaner. Still here? Then you're clearly a fan of legendary machines. Show your support by smashing that like button, subscribing, and ringing the bell, because we've got more two-wheeled history coming your way. 7. 1972 Kawasaki Z1 Launched in 1972, the Kawasaki Z1 took everything the CB750 started and turned it into a street-eating monster. Its 903cc DOHC inline-4 was revolutionary at the time, pumping out 82 horsepower and 73.5 Nm of torque. It rocketed to a top speed of 135 miles per hour, making it the fastest production bike in the world when it hit the scene. Kawasaki didn't just go for numbers, they engineered a whole new riding experience. The 5-speed transmission was mated to a chain drive, and the double cradle steel frame provided enough torsional rigidity to handle the Z1's punchy performance. Suspension was handled by telescopic front forks and twin rear shocks, tuned for spirited street riding. And although braking was handled by a single front disc and rear drum, they were more than adequate for the era. More than just a fast bike, the Z1 made a statement. Performance could be thrilling, reliable, and mass-produced. But if Kawasaki was flexing muscle, Yamaha was getting ready to roll out a shaft-driven beast built for devouring continents. 6. 1978 Yamaha XS1100. In 1978, Yamaha decided it was time to go big, and it didn't get much bigger than the XS1100. With a massive 1,101cc DOHC inline-4, this touring titan produced 95 horsepower and a brawny 90 Nm of torque, making it one of the most powerful Japanese bikes of its time. It could cruise at 135 miles per hour. But where it truly excelled was in stability and long-distance comfort. Unlike most of its rivals, the XS1100 used a shaft drive, a rarity back then, delivering smooth, low-maintenance power to the rear wheel. The 5-speed gearbox made highway cruising effortless. And with its telescopic forks up front and twin shocks at the rear, it stayed composed, even when fully loaded for a cross-country haul. Braking was modern for the era too. Dual front discs and a rear disc give it the kind of stopping confidence needed on a heavyweight. At over 600 pounds wet, the XS1100 wasn't light, but it was planted, predictable, and shockingly nimble for its size. But Yamaha wasn't done, as you'll soon see with this next bike. 5. 1980 Yamaha RD350 LC. The Yamaha RD350 LC, better known to diehards as the LC, was the hooligan's dream in 1980. A 347cc liquid-cooled two-stroke twin that roared out 47 horsepower and practically begged to be thrashed. What made it special wasn't just the punchy power band or the satisfying rasp of the exhaust, it was how everything came together in a light, agile chassis that handled like a dream. The 6-speed gearbox kept things lively, and the addition of a monoshock rear suspension was ahead of its time, giving riders confidence to dive into corners with serious intent. Braking duties were handled by dual front discs and a rear drum, adequate for its size, but part of the charm was how raw and connected it felt. The RD350 LC wasn't just a bike, it was a rite of passage for a generation of riders. It proved that small displacement didn't mean small thrills. And if that two-stroke snarl made your heart race, the next machine will show you what happens when Honda decides to dominate the racetrack straight from the factory floor. 4. 1987 Honda VFR 750R RC30. The Honda VFR 750R is a bike that's part collectible, part engineering legend. Built as a Homo Galatian special in 1987, it was designed so Honda could compete in the World Superbike Championship, and win they did. But the real beauty was that they made 3,000 of these for the street, and they didn't cut any corners. Underneath the sleek fairings sat a 748cc liquid-cooled V4 engine pushing out 112 horsepower at a screaming 12,500 RPMs. It came with gear-driven cams, which not only gave it a mechanical shriek, unlike anything else, but also improved durability and precision. The single-sided swing arm wasn't just for looks, it allowed fast rear wheel changes, a nod to its racing DNA. Its aluminum twin-spar frame, Showa suspension, and Nissan brakes came together to make it one of the sharpest handling bikes of its era. Everything about the RC30 felt precise, like it had been sculpted by engineers, not just built. Today, it's more than a motorcycle, it's a piece of motorsport history. But if the RC30 was Honda showing off its surgical precision, the next bike on our list was Suzuki, turning up to the party with a wild new haircut and a don't-care attitude. 3. 1981 Suzuki GS1100S Katana. There's no other bike with an unmistakable silhouette that sliced through the design norms of the early 80s like the Suzuki GSX1100S. It looked like nothing else on the road in 1981, and that was exactly the point. Designed by German studio Target Design, the Katana's angular lines, low clip-ons, and aggressive stance weren't just futuristic, they were polarizing, and people loved it. But this just wasn't a styling exercise. Underneath that radical bodywork sat a 1074cc air-cooled inline-4 pumping out 111 horsepower. It had torque to spare and a top speed of over 140 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest production bikes in the world at the time. The anti-dive front forks and sturdy double cradle frame gave it respectable handling. And once riders got past the looks, they found a bike that could really perform. The Katana wasn't for everyone, but it didn't need to be. It was built for riders who wanted something bold, something different, and something fast. It ended up influencing design for years to come and remains one of the most recognizable motorcycles ever made. And if you thought the Katana was wild, just wait till you meet the bike that gave birth to the Ninja name and changed the sport bike game forever. 2. 1984 Kawasaki GPZ900R. The Kawasaki GPZ900R is the bike that introduced the world to the Ninja name and set a new benchmark in performance. Launched in 1984, it was the first production motorcycle to break the 150 mph barrier, thanks to its 908cc liquid-cooled inline-4 engine that cranked out 115 horsepower. This was the superbike that turned heads with more than just numbers. Its 6-speed transmission and compact, low-mounted engine layout gave it superior balance and handling. The anti-dive front forks, beefy brakes, and sleek aerodynamic fairing made it feel as much at home carving up twisty back roads as it did hammering down the highway. And let's not forget the cultural moment. Tom Cruise's unforgettable ride in Top Gun turned the GPZ900R into a pop culture icon. Still, one of these machines quite matched the raw presence and mechanical majesty of the 6-cylinder monster that sits at the top of our list. But before we reveal the most legendary bike on this list, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. If you're still watching, you clearly live and breathe motorcycles, and we've got even more jaw-dropping rides coming your way. 1. 1978 Honda CBX1000. The top spot on this list goes to the Honda CBX1000, the motorcycle that stopped people in their tracks when it debuted in 1978. At its heart was a 1047cc air-cooled inline-6 engine. Yes, 6 cylinders, producing 105 horsepower and a sound so glorious that it could make the hair on your arms stand up. But it wasn't just about the noise. The CBX was surprisingly well-mannered, with a smooth power delivery and a ride that was more refined than its wild engine layout suggested. It had dual rear shocks, telescopic forks, and a capable steel frame, giving it stability and control that made it more than just a showpiece. Yet what truly made the CBX special was how it represented an era when Honda engineers were allowed to dream big and actually build those dreams. It wasn't the most practical, it wasn't the cheapest, but it was unforgettable. So there you have it, 15 legendary Japanese retro motorcycles that truly left their mark. Which one would you ride in a heartbeat? Or did we miss a hidden gem from the golden era? Let us know in the comments below. Your opinion keeps the moto revolution rolling.